All right, guys. Thank you. It's been a while. I guess it was the initial press conference was the last time I've spoken publicly, but it's been a great month, crazy month. Putting together staff, finishing a recruiting class, and trying to add some more recruits to the mix as well. It's been exciting. It's been fun. It's nice to finally have the staff here in place because for that 9-day period, it was kind of a one-man show, and but just the guys that were here did a great job helping. Obviously want to thank Coach Johnson, his staff, with the transition piece, respectful. They love these players. They love this place, and so it's we want to honor them for what their role was, and it was good to see Coach Johnson back at the basketball game last night cheering on the Yellow Jackets basketball team. So I thought that was a really good moment, and we've had went to the bowl game. And obviously not the result that we wanted, to send Coach Johnson out the right way. But, the guys played hard, and I got to meet a lot of the players' parents, families, get to be around them. And I just wanted to make sure before we got into the winter conditioning piece, the spring ball, I wanted to make sure that I had a chance to meet the parents up there in Detroit. And so that was a great experience. It was a really good turnout meeting with the parents up there. And then we had Christmas break or New Year's break, and then came back here. And I had a team meeting on Sunday night. School started on Monday, so the entire coaching staff was here. Got to meet the players out front in the plaza level, in the lobby, and then obviously into a team meeting to start setting the tone for the new era and for the culture going forward. That is Georgia Tech football. For about 5 hours a day the last 3 days, and it'll continue for today, this afternoon, and Friday. I'm having 15-minute meetings with every one of our members of the team, just so I can sit down, know their history, know their background, some positive experiences they've had since they've been here, some things that they would like to see improved upon. And so that's been a really good experience, getting to know them even more in detail that way. And, the thing that I've been blessed over my career is I've gotten to know some great people. And I've been blessed to have a lot of great people want to come and join us here in Atlanta. It's such a great place for families, such a great place to live. So a lot of my close friends throughout my career that have been in some great places and done some really amazing things with their careers have wanted to join us here as we build this thing the right way. And, the big thing for me is it all starts with development. We want to develop our players in every single phase of their life, academically, socially, spiritually, and then definitely athletically. And, I think we've hired an amazing strength staff. So the first and foremost, our head of strength and conditioning, Louis Corrala. I know there was a press release, and I made some statements. But, since then, he was named the Football Scoop's Strength and Conditioning Coach of the Year for football, and which I think is a well-deserved honor, and has done a great job. He had been here at Georgia Tech before, and then he was at Mississippi State when I was there, and so a great friend. Will do a great job establishing the culture and developing our players. Ryan Horton was with us at Temple. We were together at FIU, and he's in charge. He's the Director of Applied Sciences, and just the scientific approach to development. He does an amazing job, player safety, conditioning, because first and foremost, we want our players to be safe. We want them to improve on a daily basis, so he does a great job with that. And then we kept Zach, who was on the previous coaching staff, but he had worked with Lewis, and so he's going to stay. Big news yesterday. So development is a huge piece. Recruiting is a huge piece for us. So we want to recruit the elite of the elite, recruits that are out there in every single phase of their life. Patrick Suddas is going to join us from Auburn University. He was one of the associate ADs there, and so he was in charge of he was the general manager there at one point as well. He and I were together at the University of Alabama under Coach Saban in 2007, have remained close friends, and does a great job in the recruiting piece, the NFL liaison piece, and so excited to have him. And then we retained a former Georgia Tech player. Tevin is going to stay, and then Cody Moore is going to stay as well. They did a great job with me during the transition, closing out the recruiting class, adding 5 more guys that were initially not on the radar to sign with us. So good job there. Defensively, basically brought the entire defensive staff from Temple, and so they, the defenses that I've been in charge of, definitely the last 7 years in my career, have been some of the highly ranked defenses in college football. And Coach Thacker did a masterful job with our defense being one of the top 2 defenses in our league, at Temple. So he's going to come be the defense coordinator. Linebackers coach Nathan Burton will come as the co-defense coordinator, and he'll coach the safeties. Did a great job coaching the secondary at Temple last year, one of the top 10 pass defenses in college football. Did a great job with that. Larry Knight will coach our defensive ends and outside linebackers, because we will move from an odd front to an even front, so he'll be in charge of doing the outside guys for us. And he's a Georgia native, has coached at Georgia State before, and just a great coach and a great recruiter. He'll be the recruiting coordinator on the defensive side of the ball. Jimmy Panagos, he worked with Coach O'Leary for 6 years of his career, and we were together at UCF and have been really good friends. Does an amazing job with the defensive line. I think the defensive lines at Temple the last 2 years were tops nationally in tackles for loss, tops nationally in sacks. So Jimmy does a great job with the defensive line. And then Jeff Popovich is coming to us from Boise State. He and I were together at FIU, and he'll coach the corners, and he's also the defensive special teams coordinator, which basically means he'll coach the punt team, he'll coach the kickoff team. So that's the defensive staff. Really excited about them. Offensively, Dave Patnode. 2 of the 3 best offenses in the history of Temple University were under Dave's direction at Temple. I was a GA at Fordham University. He was a young coach, so we've known each other now for almost 20 years. The offenses that he's put together everywhere have been record setters, and so really excited about what he's going to do with the offense and the flexibility of everything that we do. Implementing a spread, pro style, NFL-based attack. He's going to do a great job figuring out the personnel that we have in place. Okay. So good there. Chris Wiesahan, which was a Broyles Award nominee. He came to us. He was the offensive line coach at Temple, did a great job. He's going to be the tight ends tackles, and also he'll coach the offensive special teams, which basically means the punt return and the kickoff return. Tashard Choice, which needs no introduction, was a great player here when I was here with Coach Gailey. Got to know him. Passionate, fiery, was a great player here at Georgia Tech, a local guy, and went on to have a really nice NFL career. Was one of the 3 finalists for running backs coach of the year as the running backs coach at North Texas. And then Coach Kerry Dixon coaching the receivers. We were together at the University of Florida, back-to-back SEC championship game appearances, and did a really, really nice job the 2 years that we were together. Relentless recruiter, great attitude, and all of those kind of things. There's just one position left to be filled on the offensive side of the ball, and we'll have an announcement here soon on that one. Thing I'm excited about today, we had a full staff meeting with the entire athletic department, and Todd Stansberry as at the helm of leading this great athletic department. Just really excited to be a part of this Georgia Tech athletic family. And so we spent time together today and got to know everybody across the athletic department. And they're all excited about the future of Georgia Tech athletics as well as what we are. And then tonight, I get to be a guest coach for the women's basketball game versus Duke tonight at 7 o'clock. So really excited about that. And then we hit the ground running tomorrow. The dead period's over tonight at midnight, and we're going to hit the ground running. And there's going to be 3 hot and heavy weeks of recruiting just to kind of finish out the last bit of the signing class. And then we get to work with our current roster and start putting together the pieces to be in place to be a really, really good football team. So with that, I'll take questions.
All right, questions. Once again, if you can get a microphone and state your name and the outlet that you represent.
Rod McKenzie, 247 Sports.
Yes, sir.
Geoff, if you had a chance to watch any film of the players that have come back to get a sense of where you're going to start in the spring?
Sure. So what I've been doing, so right away, even on the plane coming down for the press conference initially, was watching recruiting tape, and was doing that all the way up until signing day. And then over the break, Todd McCarthy, our video guy, who does a great job, he's one of the best in the business at what he does. Todd was loading up my Surface with film of the entire season, both sides of the ball and special teams. So during my downtime, which hasn't been a lot, but during the downtime, been trying to watch some tape. In between the meetings that I have with the players, I've just got it constantly rolling in between that 2 and 3 minute window between meetings. And so just, still getting to know the guys, still getting to know the jersey numbers. But I think, as we get through, once we get back off the road from recruiting, those first 2 weeks is all self-scout evaluation, teaching the full staff everything that we do offensively and defensively, terminology, structure, all those kind of things, principles, and then drilling down, into the tape from the last couple of years as well. But the big thing for me is once we get into the winter conditioning program, that's when we'll get to really see, what these guys can do, who they are work ethic wise. We're a culture that's built on effort, and that is the primary focus for everything we do, is guys that give tremendous effort, and everything we do around here is going to be earned. Nothing's going to be given, so they've got to earn their spots to be above the line, and those kind of things.
Jeff, Ken Segura, Journal
Hey, Ken.
Constitution.
Yep.
With the defensive staff, did you kind of know pretty much as long as they're willing to come out and bring everybody down?
Yeah, so the big thing, the thing that's going to matter here is the branding and the culture, to get the recruiting piece to the level that I know it can be at. And so I know I'm going to be heavily invested in that, at least initially. So it's good to have guys that know, that know the defense inside and out. Invariably, I spend a lot of time in the defensive staff meeting room, but as we get the recruiting infrastructure in place, the branding and the marketing piece in place, I'm not going to be able to be in there initially all the time. So having those 4 guys that know our defense inside and out, and I'm not going to have to be in there all the time. And I know and I trust that the things that we need to get done defensively are getting done and getting implemented.
In terms of, going forward, Kelly Quinlan, Jeff, in terms of going forward, kind of how many spots do you think you have, to try and sign in February?
Sure.
And also, will you try to bring in a veteran quarterback if you can to kind of give you more competition at that position?
Yeah, sure. So we know what our limit is, the max number that we can bring in. But the big thing is we want to bring in the right people. So we've got some guys that we're actively targeting. Obviously, I can't talk about specifically, but we know who we're actively targeting. And our plan is to be recruiting and coaching at the elite level. And so we want to make sure the guys that we bring in to the program fit that, are right for this culture, the right for the things that we're going to do moving forward. So I don't think there's a set minimum number that we're trying to target right now. But the big thing is, the places that we need to be position-wise are high priority, but they've got to be the right guys to bring in this last bit of recruiting. Then we understand that too, after spring practice is over, there's going to be another wave of the grad transfer market that opens up. So just understanding, the nature of college football right now relative to recruiting. We're not in a hurry because I think we've got some really good players on this team that are really excited about the things that we're going to be doing. And so it's going to be a good evaluation piece on all phases of that.
Any questions?
Jeff,
Okay.
Stan Autry with White and Gold.
Hey, Stan.
How important was it to get some guys with Georgia connections, Atlanta connections on your staff?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. And I think, strategically, I made sure that I had that, at the previous stop as well. And, we had 3 guys on that staff that had Georgia ties, and that's not, so 4 guys on the staff with Georgia ties. And then now 2, bringing back guys that Played at Georgia Tech. That was big to me, especially, to get the guys that played here before back re-energized and engaged into the Georgia Tech family, welcome them back. So, having the guys that are associated, with the program that are Georgia Tech grads. Will Glover's one that I haven't mentioned as well. Excited to get him back. I think he's the 6th all-time leading receiver in Georgia Tech history. He played on an offense that was number 1 in the country, I think his either sophomore or junior year. So just the expectations of excellence, I think they're pervasive throughout our coaching staff and throughout our culture here.
Jeff, could you kind of describe the impact you think Patrick is going to have? Obviously, I think first of all, just to get him to come from Auburn
Sure.
for what seems like a relatively similar position,
Sure.
I think is a pretty big get for you.
Yeah, so when we took over at Alabama in 2007, and he was one of the integral pieces of help setting up the infrastructure for the recruiting, for the operations that we did over in Tuscaloosa, and was a valuable member of the staff, and he understands the blueprint of how we do things. So as a head coach, you take some of your favorite things from different places, and obviously the recruiting structure and the way we set up the attacking the recruiting is based a lot on what Coach Saban's doing over in Tuscaloosa, and we were lucky to be a part of that initial setup that's gone on to have a lot of success. And so he's gone on to some other places. He's been at the University of Texas, been in Arizona State, now at Auburn, and to bring all of that expertise back here to the Flats and in his hometown of Atlanta, I think that's just huge moving forward, and just kind of the stamp that the Georgia Tech brand and what we're trying to do moving forward and building this culture and building this recruiting piece is going to be really huge going forward.
You have, a handful of early enrollees and a couple of
Right.
transfers. How important is it for them to get in early and
Yeah.
also for you to have them in early?
Absolutely. So the one is tight end, having Tyler here to play tight end, be the first tight end on campus in 11 years. So just excited about him, and having coached against him for the last 2 years when he was at UConn. He was one of their best players, if arguably not their best player, and having him here so he can help us implement the offense. You get a big offensive tackle, Jared Southers, who's 6'5" plus, 290 plus, to come in. He's played in the SEC at a great academic institution. Have him come in, and then a freshman receiver, freshman corner. To have those guys come in early helps them get on the field and learn the system. Jumpstart their career, and help with the depth, because the way we practice, you guys will get to see it. There's a lot of reps. There's a lot of activity in a short amount of time, and having those extra bodies is huge for us.
You mentioned practice open for media, fans.
That'll
Kinda
be
what's your plan?
we'll move that forward. We've got a process. We've got all 15 practices lined out. There's special days for different events. And I want people to be at practice. So we'll get with you about the media policy as we move forward, getting closer to spring ball. But there'll be specialized days for different events, to see how we do things and see how we practice. It's a lot of fun.
I was talking with some of the parents up in Detroit, and for instance, Pat Sawin was saying that Bruce wanted to play running back.
Sure.
I'm curious, if you, first of all, you kind of address that, but also, as different guys are probably thinking, I want to play this position, that position. How
Right.
does that stuff all get?
Sure, absolutely. So every meeting I had them come in and tell me the different things that they think they would be good at, and obviously that was a point of conversation with Pat and Bruce, obviously, and the big thing for us is, and the way we've done it the last 2 years, is position flexibility is huge, and our entire program is set up for them to have life after college. Get a great degree from a top 7 public institution, play at a high level in college football, and develop to hopefully get into the NFL. And the thing that's valued in the NFL with the small roster sizes is being able to do a lot of things. If you add value to the organization and you have position flexibility, you can do a lot of things. you've got a larger chance to stay on the roster, make it to your second contract, all of these things. And so we're open to it. The big thing I told them, every young man that's come in to talk about position changes or other things they'd be interested in, is just attack the off-season program. Attack what you're doing every single day to be the absolute best you can be, and, you know, give us something to base, you know, what position you're going to play on through that process.
Anything else for Coach Collins?
Kelly?
Something else I'm kind of curious your take on, and obviously you worked with Coach Saban. Nutrition's a huge part of their
Yes.
thing, and embracing technology, blood work, those
Yep.
kinds of things. Is
Yep.
that something you're looking to address here?
1,000%. Leah Thomas is in charge of our nutrition here. She's actually even got, there's a part in the College Football Hall of Fame that she's documented as being an expert in that field, and she's right here on campus. You know, she's done a great job for a lot of the sports for a long time. You know, excited for her to be engaged with our student athletes. And we want to be a lead in every single phase of our program. And the development piece is the first piece I talked about. So she and her staff do a great job with that. So implementing different things. She's at the cutting edge, and her staff is at the cutting edge of the nutritional piece, and accompany that with Ryan Horton, who's the Director of Applied Science, to make sure our guys are developing at the highest level over the course of their career here. And at the end of the day, they're going to, you know, be, you know, some of the elite players in college football.
Will your start of spring practice coincide with the school's calendar?
Yeah, so it's go ahead and get that out there. We'll put out a calendar, but it's the first Tuesday when we return from spring break. That'll be the first spring practice, and it's basically every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday moving forward.
I think I've seen that Santino Stancato is joining you.
Yes.
And can you describe, just tell me about his work, but also just the value you see in being out there on social media and
Right.
what impact that has on recruiting and telling your story, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so he does a great job. He and I are, you know, connected at the hip most days. You know, he's as creative as they come, and he and I work together to try to make sure, you know, we're selling what Georgia Tech football is, what the Georgia Tech education is, living in the great city of Atlanta, you know, making sure that we're marketing our brand the right way, so it's appealing, you know, to obviously the fan base, obviously our players, but recruits as well. And he does a great job. You know, with that, he did a great job for us at Temple, making Temple into, you know, a really strong brand. Thing I'm really proud of is the, you know, Uniswag voted the Temple uniform 12-game season as the #1 uniform combination in America. And, you know, my wife is a former fashion design student at Parsons School of Design in New York City, and I guess a little bit of her sense of style hopefully, you know, rubbed off a little bit, and I was really proud of that. Morpheus, I call it Santino, I call him Morpheus because he's a whiz on the computer and, you know, all those kind of things. You know, we were really proud of, you know, the uniforms and the combinations, you know, that we were able to put together at Temple. And obviously, I love the white and gold, and I think it's one of the iconic uniforms in college football. And I'm just excited to, you know, continue the great traditions that is Georgia Tech football and carry that forward.
Will you get to tinker at all with those uniforms?
What's that?
Will you get to tinker at all with those uniforms?
There's something, but again, you know, I do genuinely love our tradition piece. Okay, and then so left one member of the offensive staff out as we were talking, but just wanted to announce that the newest member and the 10th and final assistant to the Georgia Tech football program is Brent Key. He will be the offensive line coach. He'll be the assistant head coach, and he'll be the run game coordinator. And so pretty good time in there. So, and hopefully this doesn't open up a flood of questions. But Brent and I have been really close for a really long time. So I was a graduate assistant for 2 years under Coach O'Leary. Brent Key was a 4-year starter here at Georgia Tech. Great player, great leader, great teammate. Everything that you want in a Georgia Tech student athlete was embodied in Brent Key. And once I got promoted to tight ends coach for Coach O'Leary, his last year here, Brent became the offensive GA, graduate assistant, and did a great job. Has had a great career, and won national championships, won SEC championships at the University of Alabama. And I just think it's huge, having to, being able to learn from Coach Saban the last couple of years, be a part of that program, and bring that knowledge, here to Georgia Tech in a place that he loves, and one of my closest friends, to be able to have him back on the flats. I think Ken's getting me smiling right now, so that's good. But just, we make a big deal about relationships here, and I think the relationships that I've been able to establish over my career, and some of my closest friends, to be able to join me, that are relentless recruiters. They're energetic, they're positive, they're tough, they care about people, they care about their players. That's the kind of staff that I've been blessed to assemble. And for the men that have joined me to be a part of this program, it's very humbling, to be honest with you, because they're so well respected in their fields. But they believe in us. They believe in what myself, my wife Jennifer, want to do at this great place, and that they want to be a part of it. It's very humbling, and I'm just excited, really excited to get to work and put Georgia Tech back in the national conversation of the elite in college football where we belong. So